Lucy. If you've just found my channel on YouTube, welcome. And if you already know me or my work from other social media platforms, also welcome. For those of you that don't know, I'm a textile artist. I mainly focus on weaving and quilting and visible mending. So those are the things that I'm hoping to share more of on YouTube. I wrote down a couple things about my ethos that I just wanted to share. I care about slow fashion. I care about minimizing my impact on the environment. I care about why and how things are made. I care about honoring the imperfections of handmade things. I care about creating with intention. So if any of this resonates with you, I hope you'll stick around. So for this first video, I thought I'd share just a couple of the projects that I've been working on the last few weeks. I hope you enjoy. So the first project that I thought I would share with you is the process of weaving curtains for my studio. I'm basically just weaving a few long strips of fabric that are then going to hang in the space under the stairs to hide some of the mess under there. It's honestly been bugging me for such a long time, and I've been putting it off for so long, but a few weeks ago I had space that was freed up on this loom and I decided it was time. So I decided to weave quite narrow panels because I knew I wouldn't be able to weave the full width of the curtains in one go. So instead I decided it would look kind of nice as narrow panels in more of a patchwork panel kind of situation. And I set up my warp, which is the vertical threads that stay on the loom and then they get lifted and lowered so that you can insert the weft, which is the horizontal threads that are on the bobbins, which are held in the shuttles, which are sort of the boat-shaped things that I'm throwing back and forth as I weave. Yeah, so I'm just using a plain white cotton. It's secondhand and it was slightly stained, and I got it from my local Weavers Guild shop. And I'm in the weft, so the threads that I'm adding in, I'm using a bobbin of this really pretty blue wool that has sort of little flecks of black in it, and I'm alternating that with this really dark and slightly shiny, I believe it's mercerized, almost burgundy brown cotton that was given to me for free. It was really damaged and quite dusty and honestly quite sad looking. The outer layers had so many tears in them, but once I removed a lot of that, it was in a lot better state. It does still have sections where the yarn is broken, but since I'm hand weaving and I'm just using it in the weft, I'm sort of able to just tie knots or use the pieces in the sections that they are already in, if that makes sense. So for this warp, I set it up to just weave in plain weave to basically save time and be able to weave as quickly as possible. And I thought that to add some visual interest, it would be fun to just weave all sorts of different kinds of stripes with these two colors, regular ones, irregular, thick, thin, very spaced out, very dense, and just alternate as I go. I really enjoyed weaving like this because I tend to get bored when I'm weaving too repetitively, and this was just a really nice way to stay engaged with the project the whole time. This second project is honestly quite a short one, but I still thought it might be nice to include it. I basically finished these patchwork bags a really long time ago, and there was something about them that just felt a little bit unfinished, and I always had the idea of adding tags to them, and I looked into a bunch of different companies to get tags printed, but it honestly just didn't make sense financially for me to get tags made at this point. And I had a bunch of this really thin cotton fabric that was given to me, and I just thought it could be a good challenge to just try and embroider them myself. Since my logo is sort of my handwriting anyway, I didn't think it would look that weird. And yeah, the more I did, I think the better that I got at it. And I think that the tags came out quite nice. Here they are on some of the bags. I still have a couple more to do, but it doesn't feel like too big of a project, and I can kind of just do it at home while watching TV as well, which is always nice. This third project that I wanted to share with you is a curtain that I'm sewing for a trade with my sister-in-law. She's a very talented ceramicist, and she asked me a while back if I'd be interested in swapping something for a few of her ceramic pieces, so of course I said yes. She asked me to make her a patchwork curtain for her ceramic studio. She shares the space with another ceramicist, and then the larger space is shared with a few other people who have their studio there, so they wanted a curtain to help them sort of divide up their space a little bit and have it feel a bit more private. Look of these curtains is definitely inspired by Pojagi, which is a Korean style of patchwork art where pieces of fabric are stitched together to create wrapping cloths. I highly recommend just Googling Pojagi if you're at all intrigued. You will not be disappointed. There are some really beautiful examples on the internet. But the main reason that I was drawn to making curtains like this was because I really love how they can be made from smaller pieces of fabric. It's such a nice way to use scraps or upcycle garments. For example, for my own studio curtains, I used a bunch of very random things like old sheets, scrap fabrics that I got locally, an old scarf that I wasn't wearing anymore, the lining of a dress that I turned into a top, and a very yellowed curtain that was left in my apartment when I moved in. All of these things on their own don't sound that appealing, but in small pieces they actually really look nice together, and they bring so much depth and layers to the curtains in my studio. Anyway, back to Noah's curtain. She picked out all of these scraps that I was given by a local clothing brand who make all their clothes here, and they always save their scraps for me, which is really nice. She chose this really pretty palette of soft earth-toned and peachy cotton and linen, and I think there's maybe a couple blends in there as well. And those colors just look so good together and will complement her ceramics so well. I think something that was just too bright white might have been a bit off-putting and a bit jarring in her space, but I think these will complement, these will look really nice. The way that I sew these is kind of just very intuitive. I try and use the scraps in their original state as a base and then sort of build onto them as I go, if that makes sense. And I usually sort of work in sections where I'll kind of build up a block up to a certain size and then start laying it out on my floor, and then kind of move things around as I go. For example, I didn't have very much of that sort of very orangey peachy color, so as I sewed the sort of blocks, I would kind of lay it down and make sure that the color was kind of well balanced throughout the whole curtain and that there weren't too many areas where it was missing or too much of it. But yeah, I just really love sewing like this, where it's kind of like solving a puzzle or something. trying to just make sure that it's as balanced as possible and also just visually interesting. And also, I love sort of challenging myself to not waste and use as much of the material as possible. And yeah, it's just very satisfying to do.